Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Let's see, my slides are visible, right? Properly. Can someone acknowledge it? Good. Okay. Thank you for the opportunity, Peter and team here. My name is Bala. I represent Nutanix. We have something cool to offer to the audience here. Let me talk about it. We all talk about database services, right? So let's just look at the world where it is heading. We have hugely successful hyperscalers providing managed database services, probably getting the revenues of billions of dollars a year. But we do know that a very minor fraction of the databases actually run today in the hyperscalers cloud. A lot of databases that we all talk about, whether it is MySQL, Postgres, or any other enterprise vendor databases, they tend to run on the enterprises, what we call them a private cloud, or to a certain extent towards the hybrid cloud. So the question here is, can we get the cloud-like experience for people who are actually supposed to manage databases on premises, right? And if we can do so, how do we go about doing that? What are the challenges? What are the things that we need to kind of cover that? And most of the enterprises, they do bring the governance. They do bring the enterprise governance structure. So they want to give that powerful utility-like experience the way the cloud developers enjoy in the public cloud. But at the same time, when you talk about enterprise, there is a lot of governance, there's structure, there's control, there's compliance, all of those things will come into the picture. How do you blend this control and convenience and provide the cloud experience? And that's what we call at Nutanix, a platform called Nutanix Era for databases, right? So let's try to go through what it means is help create database as service at customer terms, at your terms. That's what I call, rather than one size fits all. Now, before we go down what exactly we are trying to do with this whole thing, maybe we'll just do a quick primer on some of the challenges. When you talk about legacy infrastructure, when you talk about enterprise databases, the infrastructure is very siloed. There are multiple teams. There is a compute team, there is a storage team, there is a networking team, and then there is DB ops team. The ticket passes from one team to the other to create a database at the end of the day for the developers. The process is difficult. It is highly manual, lengthy upgrades, and too much downtime, and people. At the end of the day, there's a lot of people, a lot of interacting in teams and interactions. So this slows down this agility, essentially. That's one of the fundamental reason why everyone is flocking to the managed services cloud or cloud, where they would like to enjoy databases as the utility. They are like electricity, they consume and they pay the bills, and then they just focus on the business logic, right? Now, if you look at just databases itself, the landscape, if we get an opportunity to rewrite and everything being done in managed services, it's great, right? We do see such implementations, but the world is highly segmented in that there is a huge number of databases which are pretty much late 80s, early 90s technology. The databases got evolved. It's basically a vendor product kind of stuff. In a way, you can also see Postgres, though it's open source, at the end of the day, it's a product. It's not a service. And same thing with MySQL too, but people have to manage. And some of these databases technologies, they are pretty much late 90s. They don't assume any infrastructure goodness, and they tend to do things in more higher level. So when you're talking about backups, sometimes they go in number of hours, like 6, 7 hours, 8 hours, or even 12 hours I have seen. And when you try to clone, when you talk about 40 terabyte database being cloned, it's a full copy all the time. So what we have seen with our customers is there's a dev team, there's a QA team, there is analytics, reporting team. Everyone needs a copy of this database. The database fault becomes so intense, big problem that the database itself is 100 terabytes, but the secondary environment is almost close to petabyte. That's the kind of problems that we see in a typical enterprise world. So everything slows down after that. And this is one of the products that we are talking about. So we have two kinds of infrastructure itself is fragile. On top of it, database products itself has their own set of challenges. Now, how do we get the database cloud experience with given all these challenges? That's what we call a Nutanix Era, a database cloud at scale at your terms, and we will talk about it. So we launched this product on Nutanix platform. For the audience who are new to Nutanix, Nutanix, you can think this as like a public cloud kind of infrastructure, using the bare metal, using the commodity hardware, but giving the cloud-like experience for customers at the infrastructure level. So we are talking about storage simplicity, storage virtualization, compute virtualization, network virtualization, so that all smashed into it, and then you can do compute storage on top of Nutanix platform, like a cloud. My org looked at the opportunity and said that, man, there's so much goodness that is happening on the public cloud, where people can enjoy managed database services. Why not recreate that kind of magic for customers on-prem on this beautiful infrastructure that we have at Nutanix? So that's what is Era. It's one-click database service, whether it's Oracle, Postgres, MySQL, MariaDB, SQL Server. We actually simplify provisioning aspect. We can cut down. We have seen it from multiple weeks and 2 weeks in some of these big banks to matter of minutes. We can provision complex databases, which are Postgres clusters, including Postgres clusters or Oracle clusters or SQL always on availability groups. We have a highly sophisticated feature called Time Machine, leverages the underlying infrastructure, where customers can go to any point in time, literally to any second, and then recreate the database as of that time. And that database is extremely efficient in its storage capacity. That means that you can almost pack 7 to 8 databases with the storage of one database copy, but keeping the same quality of service as the production database. So it's best of both worlds. It's just a highly efficient copy data management, but at the same time, the quality of these clones is as good as source. We take care of patching. We talk about database protection. So this is what bringing the database cloud experience onto the enterprise cloud. Now, we talked about Time Machine. I'll skip this slide. Very sophisticated Time Machine. You can go back to any point in time, including your Postgres databases, MySQL or Oracle. Doesn't matter what the database is. You'll be able to do your clone management and refresh all one-click way. Now, what we are seeing because of these efficiencies that are gained on the platform, as well as the cloud-like experience, our customers enjoy a huge ROI for the database management. Their TCO, total cost of operations, come down. Essentially, they're enjoying the cloud. Essentially, they're recreating the public cloud experience on the on-prem. Now, did we stop here, or we are moving forward? As you see, the world is moving to a hybrid cloud. We started with on-prem, but we know that our customers want to do database management in the public cloud too. They do want to bring the goodness of what we do at Nutanix on-prem to the public cloud. So we extended our feature set to work across clouds, what we call cross-cloud, cross-AZ ability through Era, a single control plane that manages your database assets, whether they are on the on-prem or in the cloud. Now, and we also have a very sophisticated layer called data access management. This is like a dam for a raging river, where you construct a dam and channelize the energy and then irrigate your feeds and electricity kind of stuff. It's important to have a one-click access, but at the same time, a control for your data in the company. So we have a feature called data access management. That means that QA teams will be able to see only sanitized copies of production copy. The HIPAA compliance, PCI compliance, all those things can be met with different data access management policies. At the same time, one-click way, so that the QA developer doesn't need to wait for 2 weeks to get their database or database copy kind of stuff. We are enhancing our engines further. These are the 5-6 engines that we have. But we are also going to the NoSQL aspect of it, and then looking at other cloud native technologies or the open source technologies like Cassandra and other stuff. We have a highly sophisticated integration touch points. Everything that we do is API. That's what I keep talking about cloud, so that you can integrate with your own self-service control planes wherever you need to do it. And the last thing, we have ventured ourselves into a fully supported system for Postgres, meaning if the customers actually deploy databases through Nutanix Era platform, we'll provide them 24/7, 365 support. We are learning a lot from partners like Percona and other vendors that they manage these database technologies. but it's a very delightful experience to help the customers in single end-to-end, single stack way, the platform, the engine, as well as the service. Now, if you see, the roadmap is moving to hybrid cloud databases service, so the customers can have databases across these clusters that can spread across clouds. We have a GA product in the AWS, Nutanix clusters. Our database technology, or the Era, works on that. And we did an announcement with Azure, and soon we will pretty much go live on that with some customers waiting for us to get there. And as you can see, some of the use cases, people can run production databases on-prem if they have a data sovereignty issues and they want to really control the data, but they can do their dev test cases, bursting use cases into the cloud with this technology. Or sometimes they do really want to see the cloud data centers or bare metal Nutanix clusters as the extension of availability centers where they can extend the database, meaning Postgres. We're talking about a Postgres primary and production primary copy running on-prem, but its replica is running into a cluster that is there in the AWS. That kind of sophistication is possible. And then a lot of times people do ask the question, Bala, this is all good, but what about performance? Database is all about mission critical in nature. Transaction throughput is very critical. We work with all these software vendors, and we bring the latest and greatest technologies. And if you can bring those things in the commodity servers, our performance benchmarks are pretty close to, they're very similar to what you can get from purpose-built database appliances, right? So you will be able to see that the kind of stuff, the scale that we are talking about. We have customers that run around 200 terabyte databases on these systems. We have customers who are actually building an entire Postgres service onto this system with thousands and thousands of databases. So we feel the design principles that went in API first architecture, the scale out architecture of the platform, and then the resiliency HADR capabilities that we built into this whole Era database service, we let the DBAs operate the cloud. We let them create the cloud. That's our motto. Rather than having one single dedicated place to go and enjoy the experience, we let DBAs create and operate the cloud for themselves. As you have seen, some questions might arise. Is this all like, is this a walled garden that you have to enjoy within the boundaries of Nutanix? No. We know that we cannot control the world. So obviously there are things that we think that with our platform, customers can enjoy. But when they're operating in the public cloud, there's so many good services, so many good other complementary services that they can enjoy from the public cloud vendors. More than happy. That's a seamless management, integration, mobility we promise for our customers in this extended hybrid cloud platform. Lastly, I do want to touch upon one important thing, Postgres. We launched in 24/7 mission critical support for the Postgres SQL. If they are managed, if they are provisioned by Era, we take care of it all the way from storage to the service, like the way the public clouds do. We allow customers to customize their OS versions and PG versions. Obviously, we kind of certify them, but the image is coming from the customers. It means if they have a tightened, hardened image, it's basically purpose built for their customer, their needs. We will let them operate their images on our service platform, basically end state driven management. That's what we call. We provide Postgres extension support if the customers have certain extensions to manage their database systems. And some of the early results, I'm super excited to inform that we compare very close to what public cloud vendors managed services provide. Very high degree of availability where the customers can stretch Postgres on different availability zones. And our backup is highly differentiated and probably better than most of the other vendors in the public cloud, because it's all application consistent snapshot. It's a matter of seconds. Recovery times are RTOS times are very small. We guarantee no matter what the size of the database is, can happen around 30 minutes because the way that we do the snapshots and then we take the transaction logs to operate with it. And we do have a highly sophisticated Petroni-based replication redundancy built into the both at the databases at different layers. So we think that we are ready for prime time, ready for enterprise grade Postgres solutions for our customers. In fact, I'm super excited to inform that there are a lot of interesting customers actually use our product for Postgres as well as for other database technologies. So let me pause here. So we are a young new entrant to the database market. I'm hoping that you guys embrace us, and looking forward to work with all of you guys and then learn from all of you and then take it from here. Thank you.